bonuses of this motorcycle. It's large, but it's small. So it's probably the smallest BMW bike. Well, I guess the non-GSR model is, but the GS for the adventure range is the smallest, so it's great. You can get in and around vehicles, bits and pieces, single track trees, that kind of stuff, which is wonderful. This configuration, we've got the tall seat, which is super comfortable, and we've got the handlebar risers, heated grips, all just good little things to make things a little bit easier. Nice, fun, comfortable. If you're taller and you're doing a really long day, so multiple hours, you can pop back up on the rear seat a little bit, stretch the legs out on the highways. I don't have any cruise control or anything set up like that. That's not really necessary for what I'm doing. I don't think it is anyway. I just, yeah, I know it's a thing some people do, but it's not what I'm doing. Let's just cruise through here. And there is really nice. You can see everything. All the 0 to 60 business, there's plenty of power. There's no issue there at all. I haven't changed the gearing, the tyre diameters. They're knobbies, but the spec is still the same as the stock tyres, so that's the same rolling resistance, etc. And speedometer. I do run a GPS, but it's a little bit easy to be absolutely accurate, so no concerns there. Yeah, switch blocks, standard switch blocks now. I mean, back in the day, the F-Series had that paddles left and right, what have you, and that was just super frustrating, I guess. I was never a fan of it. You know, yeah, it just wasn't for my liking. You don't have you have a flasher, so as in like you can flash the high beams, but not hazard lights. So that's something a little bit different. Another special. It was a Saturday night. We're in Sydney Road, so it's definitely a special night. But yeah, no, not too bad at all. What else have we got? So display, simple, clear, gear indicator, fuel. I run it on range. I know there's a bunch of information in there you can use, but essentially I find that range is the one I go to. Time, simple. Tacho's there. It's kind of nice to see it, but not necessary. With the fuel, once it gets down a certain point, it will give you a little petrol light up icon, so you know you kind of need to really seriously think about getting some fuel into your bike. I've got the aftermarket bars, the rentals, so stronger, slightly taller bends, I think the same diameter or width across as the stock bars, but yeah, it works. Give you pannier set up on the back, quite comfortable as far as, you know, get your legs over, that kind of thing. I haven't done much activity with a pillion, so I'm not that familiar with a full load and a pillion. I'm guessing like anything with 310cc single, it's going to say, hey, we aren't that powerful, stick to the back roads. It will use a lot more fuel at 110 than 100, so it's up there, it'll rev, it'll do it, but yeah, you're really getting up into it, so something to be aware of, that if you are doing the long haul on the highways, I guess that's what, 65 mile an hour, 110 kilometres is going to be a bit crazy for you, and something to maybe consider avoiding. Bark busters, in this case I've got the Achievous wraparounds or handguards, just a must-have in my opinion, as long as the lower bar is coming out on the engine or engine guards. These ones are Gibby, they work a treat, so got to get behind those as far as I'm concerned. Just a really good product, and work also a treat, as I tend to say a little bit, as I've noticed. Yeah, good coverage of the lights, so no concerns there. There are options for putting on driving lights, if you will call them, or highway riding lights. Not something I've gone for. I don't do a lot of nighttime highway riding. Australia, Kangaroo World, Wombat World, Koala World, so a bit of everything going on there potentially. Good to yeah, good to avoid all of that if you can. So you can probably tell on the camera footage, got the USB hooked up. I might actually connect that to the phone. Well, if you want to run a camera or something, you can plug that in. That'll work pretty well. The heated grips being genuine, same diameter from what I understand as the original grip, so it's not like, not a negative, but a lot of the aftermarket ones are a lot thicker, and the depending on what bike it is, I guess, and what your opinions are and what you like. If I can, I like to have the motorbike and the push bikes all the same diameter. Yeah, first world problems. Having multiple than one option works a treat. So yeah, open it up a little bit noisier, but again I got that Akrapovic, got the Akrapovic pipe on there. It's only short and nice, but it's got the baffle, the original baffle in there, and I've added an additional baffle, as well as Hot Rod Engineering out in Coburg North. Added up an additional tip on the outside. Lowers the sound, so it makes it a bit noisier in some areas than others. It's not blowing it off down the back, but it does protect it from melting the bottom of the panniers. And running Givy panniers or the soft, genuine bags, worthwhile, I think. You know, obviously you don't want the heat getting up there and making it bad for you. A little bit noisier, it's strange, but you hit the horn, people get angry. You hit the exhaust a little bit, people are like, oh, okay, not terrible. If there was going to be one improvement moving forward, I'd probably look at springs in the front, stiffen up the front suspension a little bit. It does dive a little bit under heavy braking. Well documented, part of the price point of this bike, and you know, definitely not a terrible activity or problem at all by any means. It is just what it is. So yeah, that's just something I'm looking at potentially down the track. Chatting to some of the BMW engineers or mechanics, I suppose, either way. Yeah, that's been an option to explore. YSS, I think, here in Australia, $200 for a set of springs, and then you've got the option of putting on the you know, oils and bits and pieces and maintenance and labour, depending on who's doing it. There are larger, taller screen options. Haven't felt the need to do it. Probably commented in the past that yeah, I like to have the airflow over the top and feel like I'm riding. I've had the F800, sorry, had the taller screen, and yeah, that was beneficial. But it was sort of like a strange angle. It was like a hitch in the middle instead of going over the top. So there was room for improvement there, in my opinion. The aftermarket bars, being the rental, has got the cost brace, so I kind of like having that rental pad there, just a little bit of bling. Nothing too major, but it's quite nice. Added with a bit of a graphics kit here and there. Let's see, what are some of the other features? I mean, even just a little GS on the dash there next to the speedometer complex. Just simple, basic, just a nice little touch, quite enjoy it. Everything just feels nice. No concerns about the countries of manufacture or the origin or any other feature. You can look down through the centre and see the gold fork upper portions, and just lovely. Look nice, comfortable, works. And for what I'm doing with wanting to potentially do a little bit more gravel and bouncing around, yeah, look at upgrading the springs at some point. There's no factory option on that one, so you've got to go aftermarket, but it's not uncommon. It's something I'm looking into, as discussed. ABS on the whole time. Very rarely do I see it playing a problem. Really gnarly conditions in the snow, I guess, and or the ice. However, if wanting to have the feature, like discarding the bike because you can't turn the ABS off for extreme mud or dirt or snow, then perhaps the range of adventure bikes you're looking at might be different in all specs, and you're probably going a lot more upmarket. I do have the option of turning off the rear ABS on the Honda CRF 300L. However, the front wheel has to stay on. I believe it's a legal requirement here in Australia. I'm not sure about Euro 5 or what other specs may exist out there, or whatever categories that may fall into or not fall into. But yeah, for what I do, it's quite nice, and as I said, I haven't felt it fall in. And sometimes if you're in an environment where it's causing you problems, just slow it down, back it off, and see how you go. Truck here with no lights on. Oh no. No, maybe just dodgy. He's on the other way, so that is what it is. Oh, and he's running the red light as well. Nutter. But hey, it's a beautiful Saturday night here in downtown. Hey, something's going on the other side of the road. Oh, just a gorgeous evening for riding around and taking it all in. And I might take some of the, it's not really twisty roads. Oh yeah, you can maybe shoot out to the airport. But again, kangaroos and wombats. These things can be a bit crazy, so it can be kind of good. We got the police, not police, okay. Someone's having a bad day, unfortunately. Or doing reports, one of those things. So, yeah, part of all of that. So, one little project I'm looking at doing, I haven't had a chance to do it yet. I want to get the skills up first, is adding a wrap, a heat shield wrap, to the link pipe, or the header pipe slash link pipe on the exhaust. Because it's a rear facing exhaust port, it just comes straight out. It's very short, hooks onto the pipe, gets very hot, but it's also transferring the exhaust gases quite well. So hint of performance, hint of noise, well, a lot of noise depending on the baffle system. But yeah, you can melt your shoes or your boots, your pants, etc. on that. And you won't often know when you're playing in the rough stuff or in the gnarly conditions when you're bouncing around and things. So yeah, looking to add a heat wrap down the portion of that pipe and get me a little bit of protection from, well, I guess, lessen how much heat comes up the leg, but I don't find too much. There is a fan. You'll hear it come on from time to time, but again, I don't see any issues with it. It just does its thing and it turns on, you know it's working. So yeah, it's kind of, this way, reassuring. There you go. Using the word reassuring. It's just a little bit reassuring, I think, when it kicks in, because you know, hey, that's working. It's doing what it needs to do. I've never had the bike boil over or anything like that. Had it in some pretty gnarly conditions, gnarly temperatures, and traffic in the city on a 40-degree day tends to be a little bit hotter than advertised. So yeah, pretty good proving ground for it. We're coming up towards 10,000 kilometres over 12 months. Actually, probably coming up towards 18 months, I think now, potentially. So yeah, 5-year warranty, so good peace of mind on that. Just, you know, just ticks the box on bits and pieces and supplies. A lot of people's opinion is, oh, it's a bike you get to learn on then move off, but if this is the bike to learn on, I'm still learning on it, and I've been riding for 20 odd years, and I guess there's always more to learn. But hey, just pottering around, cruising, commuting, highway. The one area I haven't done a lot of is the big adventure. So while I do have it configured if I choose to with the 3 panniers, yeah, I haven't had an opportunity to do a lot of multi-day camping or activities like that. So load it up and go to the snow, overnighters in the high country and things, absolutely. But not the big sort of travel the world enduro tours. But yeah, who knows, one day maybe. But when one gets to do that, there's so many opinions and bikes and countries and ideas and options. It's a plethora and pretty fantastic and pretty exciting to say the least. I guess in sort of in summary, yeah, $8,330 motorcycle, brand new, 5-year warranty. Servicing's possibly a little bit higher than some other bikes will be in the same area. However, the manufacturing, the engineering, the rideability, it's all just on point. It just all works together nicely. You can trust it. 6-speed, just trickles along on the fuel, not too crazy at all. Lights, the horn, the BMW horns have always been really loud in my experience, and if you've got to let someone know they're there, they're there. Stock levers for position adjustability. I would potentially have them in a little bit closer and possibly some shorties, but you just adapt to it, you get used to it, not a big deal. And they work. They've got the slightly, just towards the edge, about, oh, I don't know, pardon me, 2 centimetres from the edge. They do have that nipped in area, so if they were exposed and there was no bar protectors on it, they would potentially snap off, leaving you enough to work with without like a friction point or a breakaway point. So yeah, not too bad there, which is great. But again, I've got the wraparound bar protectors, or handbar protect guards, so that's all just sort of fine. Braided brake lines, protective bits and pieces all over the bike, wherever you need them. It's got the rear foot peg, so that all works a treat. With the pillions on there. Being the GS, it's got the rear raised sort of plate, I guess, so you can easily mount something up to it if you need to. But it's also got two really nice big hand grips in there, so if you've got a pillion, there's a lot to hang on to. Alternately, if you need to manhandle or human handle a bike around, you can just grab on and drag it out of a rut, or pick it up that way depending on what's going on, as I've been needed to do occasionally depending on the gnarly stuff. And it also is sort of a bit of an impact point, I guess. From memory, the R models just have like a nice little hook that goes out, but just something a bit different, I guess. You know, it works for that configuration. Other versions of the BMW GSs have had like a half seat where you can put like a toolbox in the back portion or what have you. I think, in fact, I think the new, well, the Concept 450 may actually have that configuration. So going back to something you used to see on, it's sort of like what the paramedic bikes have got. The early F650 twins and 800 twins had it, and that's just something that that's what I thought. Yeah, I remember having those and thinking, oh, it'd be a really good idea. Personally, not a huge fan, only so far as I like to be able to occasionally on the long hauls slide my butt to the back of the bike and just sit there in that sort of position. Yeah, it's quite nice to be able to sort of stretch out. You still got controls, access to your brakes and everything. It's not like the sort of Harleys where your feet are forward on highway pegs. You just slide your butt back. So more like your Dakar position, you'll see them in that sort of like that high speed, down behind the front cluster, instrument cluster, getting as much wind protection right out the back. And often they have the back of the seat built up on those bikes. I know Topline down at Seaford they do like a Hatter, a Fink or a Dakar bump, or a padding on the back of the seats, and they reshape them and put all sorts of stuff in there. So, pardon me, by having that pillion seat on the back, I'm getting the same outcome without needing to modify anything. So yeah, it's a bit of a bonus in that direction. And as stated earlier, running the taller seat, so that kind of rocks nicely. Kind of just going through all the features, I guess, but they all just work. Yeah. There's options if you need to put a larger fuel pods or something on it. I'm not aware of a larger tank. No one seems to have needed to engineer one. You're getting around over 300 kilometres of range, depending again on the speed you're doing and how loaded up you are. However, there is the Aussie Mob Nomad bum tanks. I believe they're still in business, and they do like a little drop-over tank which would easily sit over the top of the rear seat. Obviously, well, not obviously, but that would get in the way of the aforementioned discussed padded rear possession. However, it would give you, I think they can do like just a drop on top 8 litre, which you can then just pour in when you need it, or you could even, they do a system where you can pipe it into the fuel injection. But yeah, it's, you know, if someone really wanted to have that extra fuel, that's an option. They don't have a lockable cap to my knowledge, but that might be something you can get for them anyway, so that is potentially a consideration if you're going to be travelling around with long fuel in areas where fuel might get stolen. So you know, maybe just a fuel canister inside the rear chassis or panels. So I know on the Givy system you can put a toolbox inboard inside the left-hand pannier where there's no exhaust, or you can put in a tool canister or a fuel or whatever. So there are options for sure. So it's not like oh, that's it, you get 10 litres, 300 kilometres only. But yeah. Oh, it's a beautiful sunny Saturday night. So yeah, just taking it all in, cruising around, just enjoying it. I wouldn't say it's too hot. No airflow does sort of cause an effect. I think it's 33 degrees at just before 11 PM on a Saturday evening. So hot in some parts of the world, not in others. Just how it is. So yeah, nice as they say. Yeah, just gabbing on about the bike, I guess. The Midas 50/50 tyres, they're wearing down, but they're also getting, you know, that's what they're being used for. So they've been great in all conditions. They do fill up with the snow and the ice, However, that's snow and ice, so yeah, to be expected in gnarly conditions. Same with the mud. But suggesting that they are a drawback would be sort of like going, oh, it doesn't, it doesn't get much air on a motocross track, but it's well, not really what it's for. On the handlebar setup, I'm running 3 of the RAM mounts. We've got the phone, the camera, and the Garmin GPS. I like to have that definite that speed option. You got the mapping and all the rest, but yeah, not its primary control. It's primarily just to give me an absolute accurate speed. So usually out by about 3 kilometres on the factory speedometer, which is reading over. The aggressive nature of some of the drivers these days, I feel it's good to be just on point. And yeah, got that added bonus. And then I can mix and match the mounts as I wish. And the third one, or first, depends how you look at it, is for the camera. So I've got the Insta there. Use that kind of like for filming everything, but also as a kind of a dash cam. It's interesting how many people you see them acting a bit silly, and then they see they're being recorded, and they sort of pull their heads in a bit, thinking, it's unfortunate that that's what's required, but it's peace of mind, I guess. Plus, you just get used to having this equipment. That's if you're fortunate enough to do it, then you can use it. I have run a chest mount, but you can't see behind as much, and you're sort of on a fixed point of view, and the camera does have that 360 ability, so it's kind of pretty gnarly in that sense to have it doing that. Yeah, that being said, I'll try and mount it occasionally to the rear and see if I can get some footage back there from time to time, and or to the front. It's just see what works. Alright, where are we? Oh yeah, back here. Oop, indicator. Just cruising through the back streets, basically. Oh, that smells pretty bad. I don't know what that is. Oh my gosh, that smells terrible. But anyway. Yeah, not the motorcycle, just the whatever's going on in the local environment. So. Yep, going on a couple of train bridges, and that exhaust can be very tasty. It's kind of like going through a tunnel, and you got a motorbike going through, and you hear, or a sports car, they drop a gear and you just hear it wind it on. I suppose that lends itself to riding this bike on the road, so twisties. Up in the hills on the bitumen, twisties and all of that kind of stuff, just beautiful, just drops in and out. It's kind of like a tall sports bike in some respects, so a bit of a ninja weapon, if that's not even, well I suppose you've got the Kawasaki Ninjas, so not really on point with that, but yeah, just fun, just a lot of fun, and you can have a lot of fun without breaking any speed limits. So yeah, I've had the last larger bike I had was the F800R, configured with knobbies and a bash plate and hand guards and stuff. So I had a 100mm suspension. I was all set up to go bush and just was very low. But that got into a lot of cool places. This is the next step up from that. It's got the taller suspension, etc., etc. But that bike, you could get up and boogie. Like, you could do everything you ever needed to do, you're doing in third, whereas this bike you might be ringing out in sixth. So, yeah, I mean, different bikes, almost 3 times the capacity on the other engine, so not a big issue. And as discussed many times, I'm primarily a 60 kilometres an hour or below. So everything I've been talking this evening and riding, it's all been 60. I think one tiny section of 70 and a lot of 40Ks. So that's just what it is. So just got to roll with it. Yeah, not much. Yeah, you can have a massive bike, but to what end? Like, yeah, totally not putting them down or anything like that at all. Because we're just fortunate to have so many options, and I'm very thankful for that, and quite happy to be able to have that luxury of choosing different bikes. And the GS310, or Baby GS as it's sometimes referred, complete package. You can do a lot with it. You can do pretty much everything with it. Yeah, I guess if it's a world tourer you want, and a highway world touring, then a lot of options out there. Not to say it would do it. If you want to do back roads and I mean, often I'll see well, actually, there's a good point. I very rarely see big adventure bikes in the city. So I hardly ever see them. Any time of the year, very rarely see your big KDMs or GSs, African Twins, Teneros. Yeah, I just don't see them in the city. You'll see sports bikes, a lot of scooters, obviously, little ones. Yeah, crazy amounts of Uber food deliveries and things like that. But for adventure bikes, yeah, I mean, not many. Oh, there's a few other GSs now you can see around. So maybe it's, the city is just not where anyone uses them. So happy to say, yeah, this bike definitely in a city. Yeah, no problem at all. Absolutely simple. And being a bit taller, you can get it. I mean, compared to a road bike, you can just get it up and over the footpaths if you need to. Still sketchy on the tram tracks. I mean, that's just the way it is, being slippery. However, yeah, if you've got to get off gutters, onto gutters, bits and pieces, yeah, it's just going to do it all. And completely, utterly, just say, yep, recommend it. Go for it. Servicing, I think 12-month service, or it might have been the 18-month service. I'm trying to think, there's a run-in 1,000, and then 12 months later you get that first service, or kilometres, depending on where you're at. And I think it's 10k, but it worked out about $400 for that service. So yeah, it wasn't too bad at all. Cool. All right, we'll call it.